Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Astral Tourist Podcast. I actually had a couple of other episodes planned. One went really long, and the sound quality didn't come out, and the other one's just kind of been on the back burner. So I'm doing last night's astral projection right now for all of you, and then I'll have to get back to the other episodes as time allows, and one's really exciting. So, but so is this. This one was really fun last night too. So in today's episode, I'll share about a highly engineered city on another planet with long days and smooth, speedy hover sleds. Yes, astral tech at work here. Oh my gosh. Along the way, I met an astral traveler from the year 2050. Strap on in for this episode, and let's push the pedal to the metal. Actually, the sleds did not have any pedals, but just a phrase there. So the astral world I visited was a place of striking clarity and gleaming beauty, bathed in bright, direct light the entire time I was there. The sky was mostly white with tinges of real pale blues. Their sun looked smaller than ours from what I could see of it, and appeared mostly white in their sky. Despite its small size, the energy it emitted still felt incredibly strong. I'm pretty sure if I was there physically, I might be crushed by the gravity and get a really bad sunburn or something, despite it looking further away. The air had an ethereal quality which I could not quite place. Something was different about it, but it wasn't bad or necessarily good, maybe good. It was just a bit different. I spent what felt like 4 to 5 days there in astral time. However, only about 2 hours passed while I slept here on Earth. The sun hovered near its peak the entire time I was there. I kept checking it, fascinated by how it barely moved. This meant they must have very long days. I remember one day being particularly cloudy. The clouds were thin, nothing like the puffy cumulus clouds we see here on Earth, and were high overhead in the upper atmosphere. I never saw any clouds dropping down closer. There was no precipitation. I wondered how they obtained water if it rarely rained. The city I was in was constructed with smooth metallic surfaces that gleamed in the light. The buildings were tall and elegant, many with sleek pointed spires and structures crowning them. The architecture itself was not overly creative, no big round, things that look like ballrooms or anything. Instead, it had a more sedated, utilitarian elegance to it. Despite their straightforward designs, the people who lived there were intensely proud of these structures. Safest in the galaxy, some telepathed to me, and various phrases like that. That's how it was translating in my mind. Remember, our minds translate. And they were beaming with pride. That was very clear. Many also asked if I was an engineer from Earth. They were very interested in meeting engineers from other planets to compare notes on the various engineering practices. I had to answer no, since I'm not an engineer, but I sincerely admired their engineering accomplishments. To them, safety, elegance, and cleanliness weren't just attributes of their environment. They were the essence of their pristine, highly organized culture. They had engineered their city also for speed and effortless movement. To showcase this, they provided hover sleds that anyone could use to tour the city. There were loads of these everywhere, all around. These were not the types of sleds we use in the snow. However, they were small, sleek, and fast. Only 3 or 4 feet long, much like a toboggan type of sled, I guess, here. Only these were not toboggans. They were hovering and highly technical. And just also, there was only room enough for one person or being on each one. It was easy to spot visitors like myself, as we often hung off the sides more than the locals. The people zipped around the gleaming metallic structures, weaving through streets and around buildings with impressive agility. The city itself had been designed to accommodate this dynamic way of moving. It was clear that these speedy hover sleds were another point of pride for the inhabitants. It felt a bit like a game, but with a sense of purpose. As I joined in, it took my astral body some time to learn how to maneuver my small sled. At first, I felt disoriented and clumsy. I did my best and eventually managed to reach some pretty nice speeds. Once I started pretending there was a glass cover over it to shield me. I don't know why I thought I had to do that, but it made it better for me and maybe helped me keep my balance a bit to feel more enclosed. But they did not have those covers. That was just me kind of adding that in there. For some reason, I had also forgotten I could change sizes to better adjust to the sled. I had just forgot that I could do that. I was so excited and just happy to be another place, zooming around, trying to get my bearings. It wasn't long before I met someone else speeding along, exploring the city. A tall, lanky man zoomed up beside me on my right, catching my attention as I struggled to steer my sled. "Earth?" he asked me telepathically. I quickly responded, "New York," while trying not to lose my balance. He answered, "London," indicating where he was from. He signaled for us to pull off to the side into a small enclosed area that was far too cramped for comfort. There's that utilitarian vibe happening again. He introduced himself as Gregory. I told him my first name as well. Gregory mentioned he was in his 40s and visiting from 2050 on Earth. His awareness of the different timelines was impressive, far more than I had expected. Not many people in the astral are lucid enough to realize they're interacting across different temporal planes. But Gregory was keenly aware that our meeting wasn't just an encounter in space, but also in time. I told him I was in my 50s and visiting from 2025 on Earth. In our brief exchange, he mentioned feeling disappointed by the impossibility of us keeping in touch. Somehow physically, he had hoped to message or meet later to compare notes on our astral experiences, but the very nature of our differing timelines made that impossible. He sounded a lot like me in some ways, always trying to follow up and prove it, even when you can't really. Gregory noticed the subtle pulling sensation that had been tugging at me. He asked how I had managed to stay for so long. I explained that I had practiced ignoring it when I wanted to, and had the luxury of staying longer since I did not have to wake up particularly early. I also mentioned that their strong sun was helping me stay charged up. The planet was far enough from Earth, which made it easier to resist the pull to wake up, allowing me to stay even longer. So all of these things are coming into play as far as how long I was able to be there this time. So remember, you can be solar powered. You can fill up on sunlight. It takes practice to get it right and not wake yourself up or bring in too much, but it can be done. And with the planet really far away, you have a little more time with that tugging sensation there, and with a little practice, you can stay out longer. Not to mention, there's always some kind of a time variable in the astral, and that comes into play too. I basically just wanted to give myself more time to explore this fascinating planet, far from Earth and Earth's chaotic concerns. I told Gregory how I found the order and ease of movement on the planet refreshing. I did. It's just so easy to be there this time. Some places I've had to struggle to stay while I explore, but this place was just easy. So Gregory asked me to wave hi to everyone in the past from the year 2050. I promised I would, and I woke myself up soon after to make sure I would not forget the place entirely or Gregory. So at that point, I decided to check my mental bookmarks. I make mental bookmarks as I go along in my various experiences and noting things. And I realized some of the details were fading from some of them. I had already forgotten most of my first few days there. I remembered I'd been riding on that sled, though, for many, many hours, like maybe 10 or 12 of their hours at least, before Gregory had even spotted me. I was just trying to learn how to get around. And I did pick up speed after a while, and that's when he was coming up on my right there. Before that, I only vaguely recalled being asked many questions about Earth, and about the colors in nature here. They don't have the brighter hues. So they were interested in like the saturation qualities and things like that. And while I'm not a scientist that way or anything, I tried my best to describe the colors and the variations, in telepathic pictures and feelings too, like how a color might feel. Try explaining the color green to somebody that maybe hasn't ever seen it. And I think they had a pale version of it, actually, that was mixed with orange or something, but really, really light. And now trying to help them understand a deeper tone, that's where they were, that's what they were asking me about, was the deeper tones. So anyway, I was waking myself up because I did not want to forget any more. Gregory was waving goodbye and hello from 2050. As my astral body was pulled back toward Earth and the waking world, I couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration for this place. I miss it already. It wasn't like Earth, where creativity sometimes comes with chaos. Here, everything was ordered, clean, and very safe. It was a world where function, safety, and harmony reigned. I understood their pride. And, I think long term I would get tired of that after a while, because I can be really creative and out there sometimes. And that would not really go over well in this place. But for the time I spent there, I really enjoyed it. I also sent Gregory the coordinates of various astral locations to check out. Who knows? Maybe I'll see him again if we start frequenting the same areas. Perhaps I can learn more about his particular 2050 timeline. And that's it for today's journey. This one is the shorter sharing, and then I've still got to work on the longer one I was talking about in the beginning of this episode. So from hover sledding along the sleek streets of another world to meeting Gregory across time. Please share, like, and subscribe if this astral excursion sparked your curiosity. Who knows where we'll travel to next? Until next time, happy astral travels!